Hey guys, it's Mallory Dunphy here. I'm here with Eric and Josh. How are you guys doing today?
Doing great. Doing great.
I'm
Might
doing
I,
great.
there,
I thought it was going to be a spit take with Eric there for a second. He was eating his food and then I made him laugh right
yeah,
before I pressed live.
yeah.
Um, but anyway, I'm so excited. We're coming up on the last chapters of the five major pieces to the life puzzle, and we're here on this hangout because we're part of the Live the Movie crew. We do this weekly meeting where we discuss topics from a book that we're all reading together for the month of August. We're doing it every month, and we're actually excited to start a new book for the month of September, which I'll share a little bit more about at the end. But these weekly hangouts are to go over ideas on the book that we're reading, but also just to kind of touch base and hold each other accountable for different goals that we have. And I was excited last week. We got off the call, and Josh and I were texting back and forth after the call, and he was like, "So, how much? What's your goal? How much are you trying to save?" Because my goal is a financial goal. And he's like, "So how much have you saved so far?" I was like, "Well, it's not where I want to be, but thanks for, holding me accountable." So it's pretty cool to have these hangouts just to have somebody, besides ourselves individually and all by ourselves, try to stick to these goals that we have for ourselves. So I'm excited about that. I know Josh let me know that he did have one more application that he submitted for the month, which is exciting. He's trying to get his dream job and get his foot in the door somewhere, so a little bit of recognition. He's been, pushing hard towards and working hard towards getting that job, and he might not get it right away, but having some interviews and, who knows, maybe he'll have a connection when he gets his foot in the door, get accepted to a different position, and eventually get the position he wants. So, but he's doing the right things. He's doing what he's got to do. I know Eric and I both have financial goals. They're different, but they're both savings goals. And Eric, I don't know if you want to share a little bit about what progress you're making, like if you're halfway to your savings goal. Well, not halfway because we're only in the first quarter or whatever that we were keeping track, but where you stand with that. I know I'm behind, but I am working on ideas to catch up.
Yeah, I'm actually, I'm excited with two things. One, just the general things that I have in place to help me hit the goal, like savings from my paycheck each week, and I have one of the apps that does a certain savings plan for me and stuff. So some of the things I have in place are really cool. I think one of the things that may be difficult is to hit a goal and just divide it up. It might be more of like a cumulative build towards the end of the year. But I think it's more important, especially at the beginning of any goals, that you're taking action, you have systems in place to make it happen, and then if you have to do individual other things to make sure you stay on track, that's cool too. And then the other thing is, like you said, a group like this, even if you're off track, if you know that each week or every couple weeks or even daily, if someone in the group is checking in with you, you're not going to get so far off track because it's a constant reminder. So in that sense, numerically might be off track, but I feel like I'm on track.
Yeah, that's exciting. And I'm kind of in a similar place right now with the goals that I have too, because like you said, sometimes you can't really break it up and say this is the exact amount that I'm going to save every single week or every single month. It could just be, at the end of the year, you make this huge savings because you've built up to that in a way. So that's a little bit of recognition. And I want to jump right in. We're on the last piece of the puzzle. It's so exciting. So the five major pieces to the life puzzle by Jim Rohn. That's the book that we've been reading. And we are on the chapter 5. It's called Lifestyle. One of my favorite chapters so far. And I've said this in the beginnings of other calls, but I think it's so important to not only just to read the book once, and even though we're discussing it and we're having an open discussion about the different chapters and different things to implement, it's so important to go back and realign yourself with the different steps to the life puzzle, because chapter 1 where he about the philosophy, if your mindset isn't where it's supposed to be in regards to the goals that you have set for yourself, it's going to prevent you from making progress towards that goal, especially if you have the wrong mindset. So uh, going back to the very beginning and kind of going through these five, I keep wanting to call them mandates because Eric and I worked on a book together called The 8 Mandates of Personal Leadership, and they do relate to these five puzzle pieces. But the 5 mandates, the 4 mandates leading up to lifestyle are so important to sort of master before you can really say that you've really gotten anything out of a book. So we are going to go over the last chapter and the conclusion today. But I encourage you that if this is the first video that you're watching and we're already on chapter 5, go back and watch the other videos about the first 4 puzzle pieces, because that's just going to help you to stay on track with, they all build on each other. So it will help you stay on track with achieving any goal that you have based on these 5 puzzle pieces. So the first quote that I highlighted in the lifestyle chapter is, lifestyle is how we choose to live and how we design our lives. And the reason I highlighted that was because we all have a different idea of what our ideal lifestyle is. And yeah, we have goals that we're shooting for. Like some of us have materialistic goals, some of us have spiritual goals or health goals, things like that. Every time. Spiritual goals or health goals and things like that. But Josh made this point last week, and I think maybe even the week before, of being really happy with the life that you're living now and finding ways to, find that happiness in the moment now, because this is the life that you have, the life you're living in the moment. This is what you got. You can change it and move forward and achieve big goals, but if you take a step back and think about the things that you already have, and you feel grateful for the things that you currently already possess, and then find ways to be happy in the things that you're doing today, because that happiness and that feeling of gratitude will only lead to you being blessed with more things, and being happy about things that you achieve later in life. So it does go back to the philosophy and having the right state of mind about your current lifestyle. So if there's something that you want to change about your current lifestyle, maybe you just have to look at it in a different way and try to be happy with where you are now and know that you are moving forward in the right direction, because that sometimes is all it takes for you to actually start to take action to be able to achieve something. Lifestyle is a reflection of our attitude for our lives. That was the other quote that I highlighted. It was kind of a section of the chapter that Jim Rohn highlights, and I already have really talked about it. But he says we don't have to wait until we are wealthy or powerful or famous to experience happiness. We don't have to postpone our appreciation of the finer things in life until we reach our career goals. We can live a life that is as joyous and rewarding as we might wish starting right now. So that kind of goes back to being present in the moment and being happy with what you currently have. It doesn't matter if you don't have everything that you want in life yet, because eventually you'll get what you go after if you really go after it. But it's so important to kind of take a step back and feel really grateful for the things that you already have. We don't have to be rich to live richly. All of the happiness and fulfillment we want can be ours right now, simply by changing how we feel and what we think about this concept called lifestyle. And so many people think that lifestyle has to do with an amount of money, like how much money am I worth? That's the lifestyle that defines who I am, which is totally untrue, because so many people, we define wealth in different ways, and some of us want different things from a materialistic standpoint. Some of us want different things than other people. So if that's the case, then you can't really put a dollar amount on to define your lifestyle, because if you did that, then everybody would be kind of on this, scale of dollar amounts. That would be the measurement to see who has a better lifestyle than the other person, and that's just kind of bogus, because people want different things out of life. And I just remember my dad one time telling me that, he could have stuck with his, six-figure job, working crazy hours, and be fine with money and never really have to worry about the financial side of things. Or what he decided to do was follow his dream, and he wanted to spend more time with his family. So he ended up, leaving that job, that stable six-figure income job, to spend more time with his family because that was wealth to him. That was what his value is. It was at the time and still is. And making that change, some people would say that's crazy. He should have, financially. We were never poor. Or in poverty or anything like that. We always had food on the table, heat in the house during the wintertime. We never really struggled financially, but we definitely could have had a few more luxurious things growing up if he chose to stick with that six-figure job. But we would have, lacked the presence of our father. So it was a big decision that he made, but he definitely did it because of his value of family, and that's the lifestyle that he wanted to live. He wanted to spend more time with his family instead of, you know, buying a Mercedes Benz or whatever. So lifestyle is really nothing more than the art of doing ordinary things extraordinarily well. So I love that quote that Jim Rohn highlights there too. I'm gonna stop. I don't know if Erica, Josh, if you guys have anything to add as of right now. I know I've only gone through like a couple pages of the chapter so far.
Yeah, because one of the college tips that I put up, I think I don't remember if it was last week or a week before, but one of the things that I said was that um, it's I'm actually going to be putting this in my book too. So um, you can spend a lot of money. Um, you can spend a little bit of money on charity, or you can spend a little bit of money on alcohol, but you can also spend a lot of money on charity and a lot of money on alcohol. So really, how much money you have doesn't really influence the decisions you make with that money. It really just influences the magnitude of those decisions. And so, you can have millions and millions of dollars and still end up spending it on things that don't really matter to you anymore. And, um, in the end, you might end up running out of money and then not have enough money for something that's really important to you, even if you get paid $1 million a year. Whereas even if you only make $10,000 a year, say, if you save that money cautiously enough, then you might still be able to have enough money for something that's really important to you in the future. So,
Yeah, I mean, that's profound when you say, I think that relates definitely to what people do with their money. Everyone does different things with their money, and if they really focus on doing the things that really brings them fulfillment in their life and in their heart, that will create that lifestyle, that dream lifestyle that they might be envisioning, regardless of the amount of money that they currently earn or that they currently even have in their bank account. So that's a great point, Josh. Thank you for adding that. Eric, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think, excuse me, I think Josh's point is great, and the quotes that you came up with. I think sometimes, especially now in the internet age, everyone sees the picture of the cars and someone sitting on the beach doing nothing and like, oh, I want that. The problem is, I don't think a lot of people actually want that, because if they did, then they'd probably try a little bit harder. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, oh, this, I want this, and I think a couple things. One, it all comes back to why do you want something, and really figuring out what you get out of the lifestyle that you want. But the other thing is to realize that the why is so important, because if you do just look at it um, from a standpoint of activity, right? Whether you make whatever, I mean, obviously there's situations if you're making even less money, but if you're making enough money to like pay your bills and do whatever and spend time with family, everything above that is kind of just like Josh said, it's a magnitude of what you're doing. Like if you're a billionaire, then you might still get together with your family for Christmas and Thanksgiving and this and that. You might fly in your private jet instead of a commercial airplane. You might have a nicer hotel. But think about the things that we all find to be the most fun. It's a lot of times when you reflect back on, trips or vacations or fun things that happened. I was even thinking of, I was talking to my family a lot about this recently, is that a lot of times if you plan like a really fun vacation or something like that, and you're like, okay, we're gonna go here because we want to see this museum and this monument and this thing and this thing, and we got to get it all in. It has to go this way, and you plan it all out, and it's gonna go perfect. And then you go and you see those sites, but usually when you end up remembering stories and all this stuff, you're like, yeah, the Eiffel Tower was cool, or the Coliseum, or that baseball stadium, or whatever. But there's usually not a story to that. It's like, oh yeah, that was really cool. The things that you actually end up talking about is either the challenges that you overcame, or how funny they were, or things that happened, or the restaurant around the corner that you went to and met that waitress that was super fun, or like, I could just think of so many stories. And if you think about it, even though some of the things went out to dinner, went here, that might have cost money, the actual experience of what you talk about is usually about people and about some situation that happened that doesn't necessarily involve that. So just to recap what I was saying, basically why you want the lifestyle or whatever that you're going after is really important, and then trying to figure out specifically what you get out of it, rather than doing stuff. I think the biggest challenge that people have is that they go after stuff because it's what everyone else is doing, or they think it'll make them happy, or they think people will give them stars on their chart or whatever, and then the worst thing is they get what they want, and then they're even more unhappy, and it's like, wow, what was the point of that? And that's why what Jim Rohn says is that if you can find a way to be grateful now, then you'll be grateful then. I think Tony Robbins's quote that says, if you can't find happiness in the smile of a baby, you're not going to find it being the first man on the moon. And he's basically saying, like, if you can't be happy with the littlest thing, then hitting the ultimate goal and achieving something that's never been done in history will only be a short-lived excitement, and then you'll go back to being unhappy. So I know this section is about lifestyle, but it also plays into how you feel about it, like Jim Rohn said.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, basically what you just said is another quote that another thing that I highlighted. It's actually a section of the title of another section. It says, learn how to be happy with what you have while you strive for what you want. So that goes back to, if you aren't currently happy in the situation that you're in now, you really got to figure out what's making you unhappy. Is it because of something that you lack, or is it because you're dissatisfied with what you currently have? And you can't change that what you tolerate. So if you're tolerating a bunch of things that are negative in your life right now and it's causing you to be unhappy, then maybe you just need to make a shift in what you're focusing on, and put a focus on something that does make you happy, and really put a focus every single day on doing something. Doesn't matter what it is, how significant it is or not. Do something every single day that just puts a smile on your face. It could be reading a book, or it could be watching your favorite show. It could be doing something. I love to do art, so that's like my happy place. So when I sit down with a pencil and pad of paper, that's like heaven to me. So figure out a way to do something that you love every single day, and once you realize that, yeah, you can be happy with having anything that you have currently, doesn't matter how bad your situation may or may not seem, you'll be happy when you're striving for things too. And once you actually achieve those things, they'll make you just as happy as you are in the present moment, when you do show that gratitude and have that happiness, that feeling of happiness in the now, instead of waiting for something to make you happy, because the only person that can make you happy is yourself. He talks about studying and instead of just practicing something. So if you wish to be wealthy, we must study wealth. If we wish to be happy, we must study happiness. So it kind of goes back to being a student in life, and what I think I talked about, I don't remember which chapter it was in now. Probably it was in the activity chapter, I want to say, where I talked about you always want to be learning new ways to do things, and sometimes in order to learn, you have to go outside of your comfort zone and make some mistakes along the way. And it's so important to be a constant, a life student basically of different things. Learn from the best too. So if you want to become fit, you would probably want to learn from somebody who is really physically fit. So it just makes sense to align with those types of things, the types of things that you want to achieve, align with those and study those so that you can learn how to implement them in your own life. He also says happiness is as much a cause of success as it is a result of success. We can begin to experience happiness whenever we wish, regardless of our current circumstances. And the next one, I didn't really highlight this section, but it just kind of jumped out to me. It says, wherever you are, be there. And that relates to just being present in the moment. So often we're either stressed out about something that we need to get done in the future that's, nagging at our mind, when there's nothing, literally nothing we can do about that, something that's nagging at our mind in the future, because all we have to do is focus on the present moment. And if all we did was focus on the present moment and do things based on how we feel in the moment and adjust the way we feel about things, based on whatever state of mind we're in, then you'll eventually figure out how to overcome that challenge that you might be thinking that you're going to face in the future. But you got to focus on the present moment, because thinking about it is only going to hurt you, because it's going to stress you out, and you're not going to be able to do anything about it until that time comes. So I think being present in the moment, he says sometimes we go through the day rather than getting something from the day. I think we talked about this back in the philosophy chapter, but setting your daily intention is so important in regards to your lifestyle too, because when you set your daily intention, like one of my daily intentions is to learn something every day. And because of that, it's funny, I'll actually notice something that I can learn more about throughout the day. It kind of comes up as an opportunity just because I have that intention for the day. But if I didn't have that daily intention, then that, I might miss that opportunity or just completely overlook it because I wouldn't be having that type of focus for that day. So, what am I going to get from the day instead of, I'm just going to get through the day, is such an important mindset to have, because we really don't know when today will be the last day that we live on this earth. So it's important to really soak it all in, not to go deep on you, but all progress.
I was going to add
Yeah,
something.
go ahead.
So one of the cool things about being a part of our group, and Mallory and Josh and I talk about this all the time, is that, for example, like maybe before we started this group, I had read a few books for the year, but as soon as we decided we were going to do this group, the month before we officially kicked it off, I think I've read like 5 books, even though our group is set to read 1 book a month. And I think I've read 3 or 4 books this month, and we're reading this 1 book. So it just shows you that if you have accountability, you usually end up going above and beyond. But one of the books I'm reading, which we might do at a different time as a different month, is The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, who's actually considered the #1 spiritual teacher in the world at the moment. And what's so cool about the book is sometimes you read books about spirituality and they like go way over your head and you're like, what is this person talking about? So what he did instead was he set up the book where people emailed in questions and they could ask whatever they wanted, and then he structured the questions with the answers as the book, and he put it in kind of a sequence. So you'd get people that might be skeptical of what he's talking about or don't understand or whatever to ask a real life question that I probably would be asking too. And one of the interesting things is he says, now is the only moment that there is. Because if you think about it, you say, well, this happened in my past and that's why I'm screwed up. Well, that thing happened now back then, if that makes sense. It happened in the present moment, just when the present moment was when it was. So the past and future don't exist. And one of the things he said, well, if you just live in the moment, what are you not supposed to plan? No, but you plan in the moment, and while you're doing the planning, you're doing the moment, and then your activity that you do based on your plan, you still do that in the moment. And then it's like, well, don't I have to learn from the past? It's but you're applying it to this moment. It's the only moment there is. There was one question that I got to in the middle of it, which I thought was pretty relevant, is the person said, well, I get what you're saying, but my life is like really challenging right now. Like I can't afford to pay the bills. We had some loss in the family, like all this stuff. So I'm just supposed to be present and then just, but aren't I ignoring that? And I'm just being happy, being like false happy. And then at some point I snap out of it and I remember what's going on. And he says, well, no, you grieve in the moment. If you grieve in the moment, so you're actively doing that. If you have a challenge that you have to figure out, how do I make more money, or how do I connect with somebody, or how do I do this, you either work on it or you let it go. I'll give a really, really quick example. I had a roommate in college, really awesome kid, great kid, hard worker, good student, but he was always someone who would worry. And I remember that he loved to have people over to our apartment in school and loved to entertain and all this stuff. But he was such a worrier that I remember one Friday night, it was probably the most people we ever had over. We were having a fun time, and I go, you having fun? He goes, yeah. I go, what's wrong? He goes, oh, I have so much work to do. I have so much work to do. I go, okay, then go to the library. He goes, I can't go to the library. It's Friday night. And I was like, well, you could either go to the library or you could forget about it and go when you're scheduled to go tomorrow and enjoy the party. So that's just an example of that. And I just thought I would chime in and share that because that is such a powerful concept. If you can be present and be doing whatever you're doing, even if it is planning or reflecting, you're still doing it in the moment.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Related to that too, and a couple pages from where I am now, skipping ahead a little bit, Jim Rohn says, today is yesterday's tomorrow. And when you think about that, it's just like, okay, if I say I'm going to keep putting something off to tomorrow, it's never, that time is never going to get here, because tomorrow is always in the future. We can't physically step into the future. We're only, like Eric was saying, we're only able to be present in the moment and take action. And if we worry and think about doing something too much, it would literally drive us crazy. What Jim Rohn talks about too is like letting our emotions come and accepting the fact that we feel something and being okay with it. So if we're feeling angry about something, it's okay to feel angry about it in the moment, and then, like Eric said, just being able to let that go. And he says, if we want to be happy, we begin by thinking and feeling and acting happy. If we want to be wealthy, we begin by thinking and feeling and acting wealthy. So there was this whole concept in the sales company that we used to work for that was called fake it till you make it. And in a way, I liked it. Some aspects, like, you can't really apply it to everything, I don't think, but in a sense of, we would say fake it till you make it in regards to confidence in a lot of cases, because sometimes if we were going to speak in front of a group of people and we were really nervous about it, we'd put our game face on and we would basically deliver a message to this group of salespeople as if we delivered it 100 times before, and as if we knew, we were like the expert in that, the subject of the talk. And, you know, in that, by doing that, we were able to gain some confidence, and we sometimes would have to fake that confidence until it actually was real, but that worked a lot of times. So if you ever want to feel a certain way, you know, think, act, and feel that way now, and you'll eventually, you know, get there and achieve something that you didn't think that you could before. Our lives are filled with opportunities for experiencing a new level of happiness and sophistication and appreciation. All that is required is a change of mind and a decision to begin experiencing it all right now. I really love what Eric just shared about the past and the future do not exist, because it got me thinking about just the different things. Like, right now my laundry just beeped, and I didn't even remember that I'd put the laundry in until just now. But it reminded me that I have to do laundry, and then my mind automatically went to all the other things, like the laundry list, I guess you could call it, of things I have to do tonight around the house. And it was like, okay, stop. I'm focused on this call right now, and that's what I want to do, because I want to bring my best to you guys and want to share as much value as I can. So that was a kind of cool example that I just experienced in this present moment of thinking about something that I have to do later, that affected the way that I felt for a second. So it's kind of cool. You really can apply that in any moment that you're existing, because it's, worry is caused because you think too much about the things you have to do in the future, and a lot of times depression can be caused by spending too much time dwelling on things that happened to you in the past. And if you kind of let those things go, accept the fact that you experienced what you experienced, but also, giving yourself a break and telling yourself, okay, it's okay to let go of that, because I can do something today to impact my future, and this is what I'm going to decide to do. I'm going to take the positive action steps towards what I want to do for my future, instead of dwelling on things that happened in the past that might be negative. Eric, I saw your mic go off. Do you want to share something?
Yeah, excuse me. I was going to say that, one of the things is, the three of us on this call, and many of the other people that, are in our group or been a part of our group or things like that, a lot of us have been to a lot of conferences, read a lot of books and all that stuff. So it's like, what is the point of reading all these different books if you know a lot of this stuff? One of the things is each book has usually a couple really main concepts, and if you can give that your focus while the time that you're reading the book, you're applying one new thing to your life. So I think I've gave this example before, and I forget the title of it, so I'll use another concept that I've learned. There's a concept of by John Maxwell called the law of the lid, where you kind of push your threshold of growth or perspective or whatever, and it starts to feel uncomfortable, and you think something's wrong, so you kind of, might, you might go back down in your level of growth, when in reality, if you could just identify, oh, this is the law of the lid, I have to push through it, so on and so forth. So I read another book by a psychologist that taught a very similar concept, and he said that he didn't call it the law of the lid, but I'll use that as the example. He basically, the whole book that he said was, a lot of times people's lives start, things start happening in a positive way, things are going well, and then they kind of sabotage it by something completely random, like nothing actually went wrong, nothing's going wrong. And he gave kind of the psychological side of it, which is basically your nervous system's trying to, keep you safe and protect you. So if you've never gone, 3 days or 5 days or 2 weeks or a month of being happy in a row, then it's like, we got to make something up, because there's got to be something that we have to protect ourselves from. So that, again, it's not the law of the lid, but I'll just call it that. So then I actually read this when I was with my wife and her family on a cruise a couple of years ago, a Disney cruise. And you think about being on vacation, a lot of times, even if someone's not in the best place on a vacation, you're focused on really positive things, and you're having fun, and you're spending time with family, and you're going to games or amusement parks or rides or whatever you're doing. So in that respect, it's pretty easy to be focused. And what was interesting is that throughout the week, I kind of made made it an exercise to, if I had a negative thought about something, to just say it was that, right? So like everything we saw, oh my God, we just had a great day, we went here, we had dinner, we had so much fun, we laughed, did all this stuff. But if something would come up, like I would start to worry about something random or whatever, instead of like overanalyzing it, I go, oh, that's the law of the lid, and then you just forget about it. So sometimes sometimes labeling things can be good if it's done in that respect, that you almost turn a negative into a positive. You say, oh, that's just my mind trying to, protect me, but there's nothing actually wrong. And then you just go back to what you're doing. So I just thought that was a cool example. And, I taught you guys a minute ago, the one of the power of now. There's some concepts from this book. There'll be more from the next book. So I think that's what's so powerful about our group, and also the books that we're reading.
I agree. I think, some more great points. I think what we're going to kind of start to realize is that a lot of these books, like you just said, Eric, are very, very similar in the concepts that they teach, because what these authors have learned in life, about success and about failure and about achieving things, it all aligns, because, somebody might succeed at, in an area of life that somebody else is struggling in, and if they simply just apply the same action steps or the same mindset techniques to that area of life that they're struggling in, if they apply the same mindset as the person who is succeeding in that that same area, then if you think about it that way, it's really simple to succeed at different things. But it's also easy not to succeed, because it's easy to do something, but it's also easy to neglect it and not to do it. So I think it's so cool that all these books are very similar, but it's great hearing from different authors, because everybody has a different story of how they went from a trial to triumph, and what they learned throughout their experiences. And what I shared about being a student of life, it's so important to learn from the mistakes other people made, and also learn from the success that other people experience too, because success leaves clues. And so many of these success stories and success books are similar, because there's only really one way to get to a successful outcome when you're trying to achieve something. And you yourself might go through different challenges that other people didn't experience, but it's all going in the same direction towards a goal, especially if that goal is the same as somebody else has already achieved. The conclusion, I just highlighted a few things in the conclusion in the book, and then we get to wrap up, and I'll share the next book that we're going to read. I'm so excited about it. Hopefully Josh will be able to either jump back on this call, maybe he'll get to share his excitement. If not, I'm going to share my excitement anyway. But the conclusion, he says, our ultimate success or failure depends on 3 fundamental things. So after all this that we've read, it's 3 fundamental things. So it really is that simple. 1 is what we know. 2 is how we feel about what we know. And 3 is what we do with how we feel. What we do with and about all that we feel and all that we know. So if it's that simple, all you really have to do is expand on what you know. Train yourself to find happiness and feel grateful for things that you have in the present moment, while striving for greater things, and take action. And that's it. So it's pretty cool that he goes over all these in-depth ideas, and really touches on things that you don't think about on an everyday basis, but then he just breaks it down into 3 simple steps. And what we were actually just talking about, I think, with the law of the lid that Eric was just talking about, is the human comfort zone, which is what Jim Rohn really focuses on at the end of this book. And how he says today is yesterday is tomorrow is so fascinating, because when you think about it that way, you have zero control over what happened in the past, because it's already happened. And you have zero control about anything that can occur in the future. The only thing you can control is what you do today to make a positive impact on the future. But you'll never be able to physically step into the future. There is no way to do that. You just, when you think about it, yesterday being when you were in that present moment then, and today is the future. It's like, well, there is not. I'm still wrapping my head around that whole concept. It's pretty cool, because there really is no past or future. There really is only the present moment, because we're creating the past. As I'm speaking, I'm creating the past, and I'm entering the future as I'm entering a new present moment. So it's pretty cool when you think about it like that. And what he says about comfort zone, those who live in the comfort zone seem to have developed a strange philosophy about human immortality. And he quotes, I have all the time I need to carve out my personal success story. There's always tomorrow. There's always next week, next month, next year. There's no real cause for concern. There's no real need to do anything about changing right now. By this time next year, things will be different for me. Well, if somebody is, I don't remember where I read this, but it was I think maybe I heard it on an audio by Napoleon Hill. He says somebody was complaining. He was 30 years old, and he was complaining about having no prospects in his sales business, and he was discouraged. And he says, "It's something's got to give. I'm gonna, in a year's time, I'll be successful." And If he keeps complaining about the same things, the only difference between now and a year from now is he'll still be complaining about those things, except he'll be 31, and he still won't have any prospects for his sales business if he keeps, being discouraged about his current situation. So when you think about it that way, it's like, okay, what do I got to do today to really make a difference in my life? And you don't really have to focus on everything at once. I really encourage you to just pick one area of life that you want to make some changes in and take small daily action steps to improve that area of your life. Because it's funny, once you start seeing results in one area, it starts trickling over into other areas of your life, and you start succeeding at things that you didn't even really realize that you wanted to succeed at. So start small, but make a decision today if you really want to make a change to do something about it. The last thing I'll close with is just the idea of the two-minute warning. And in football, in the NFL, most of you I hope know the NFL. There's this 2-minute warning at the end of the game. And some of the most phenomenal plays are executed in those final 2 minutes. It's as if, the rest of the game didn't even matter. These teams are just going after the win with all that they have. And if you think about that in relation to life, if you go down, maybe it's the final breaths that you're going to take in life. And, are you going to do everything you wanted to do in those couple minutes that you have left? Or are you going to think about that and say to yourself, you know what, life is short. I don't want to wait till the time ticks away and it's too late to do anything. I want to win at life now. And when you make that decision, you start looking at things in a more positive way, and you start feeling gratitude and happiness for things in your life currently, and better things start to come into your life. And it's really amazing how just a shift in mindset can make that impact. So sometimes in the 2-minute warning in a football game, it's simply too late for a team to come back and win. And it's funny when you think about how much time they had during the regular, before that 2-minute warning came, how much time they had to impact the win at the end of the game. But why didn't they take those action steps and really go gung-ho for the win in the beginning? So if you think about it that way, like, why aren't I taking advantage of life today? Like, today is all we have. And I'm excited about that concept. So the last thing I'll say, I guess, is we cannot allow ourselves to dwell upon the risks in every opportunity, which is so important. If you think too much about the risks, you won't take action. Instead, we must seize the opportunity that is inherent in every risk, knowing that we must somehow run the risk of going too far in order to discover how far we can really go. So I just think that's fascinating how, all these things that we've talked about in these past couple weeks about this book, I just think is so cool. And Josh, it looks like you've highlighted that section too. Do you have something that you want to add?
Yeah. Open up my mic here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just highlighted that section too because I thought it was really important. Because I oftentimes feel as though I think look a little bit too much at some of the risks that I have to take in order to bring about a certain opportunity, and I focus more on those, and I go, oh, maybe this isn't for me. And it's really important for me to remember, try to implement in the future too, that you know, maybe I don't know how something's going to turn out. Like, I'm thinking about moving down to Nashville, hopefully in March if I don't get another job around this area. And, I don't know what's going to happen to me if I go down to Nashville. I'm obviously not going to be able to keep up my hotel job here. You can probably get something down there, but it's still a risk one way or the other because I don't know what would happen. So you never know. So I think
Yeah.
that's definitely something for me to put in and improve on my
Yeah.
life.
Sometimes the idea of the unknown, like you don't really know what's going to happen if you make that big, a big move like that. And sometimes you just got to go for it because something might come up that just changes your whole life for the better. And sometimes you do got to take those risks and take advantage of some opportunities, even if they do seem crazy at the time. Because if you don't do it now, you'll later in life you'll think, what if I did move? What would have happened? Where would my life be that's different from it is from what it is right now. Um, so
I,
that concludes. Go ahead, Eric.
yeah, I was just gonna share a quick story because I don't know if you two guys had heard it, and if I explain it correctly, it's actually pretty interesting. So again, all three of us, Josh still does now a little bit, but all of us worked for a company called Cutco, and sells a kitchen product, and that's where we started to learn all these personal development skills, and have got into so many other avenues and things like that. And what's interesting is the three of us wouldn't be friends if this situation didn't play out the way that it did, which is um, so our all of our original division manager, his name's Ryan. He actually was the top district manager in the Virginia area, and he was just so good, and he wanted to become the top district manager. He wanted to become the division manager of Maryland. That was his goal. He'd be close to home. He'd be able to, make more money, impact more people, do all kinds of things. So he crushes it and gets a call from the region manager who says, who now actually is the president of the company, and he says to him, so there's two territories available. There's Maryland and there's New England. And without hesitation, he says, Maryland. I've always wanted Maryland. It's close to home. It's what I've wanted. That's what I've been striving for, and all this stuff. Now, the region manager, Al, says, that's great, Ryan, and you have earned the right to make the choice. But here's what I want you to think about. This is an opportunity that's going to affect you for a long time. And Maryland, you're going to do well. It's going to be fine. You're going to have your family there. All that stuff. But then you have New England. It's unknown. Who knows who you meet up there? Who knows what's going to happen? You're going to get to impact that area. You're going to get to take it to the next level. Think about it. Are you looking for the certainty? Or are you looking for the adventure and a fun life? And he goes, either way, it's fine. But I just wanted to give you that perspective so that you make the decision. So Ryan thought about it for a couple days and got back to him and said, I'm gonna do New England. And what's interesting is all three of us, we're part of his division in New England. So obviously, if he didn't join, then maybe some of our managers who brought us in wouldn't have done it, and we wouldn't be having this call right now. So it doesn't mean that he made the right or wrong choice, but our decisions and embracing the unknown sometimes can lead us to some pretty cool opportunities. And the biggest challenge, regardless of what area we're talking about, is that, again, we can't see what the future holds. But when we can reflect back and see, well, maybe we went through some challenges and things that we weren't sure about, but again, if we can do what Jim Rohn says and be grateful for where we are now, and then look back from that perspective and say, okay, a lot of those things I went through got me to where I am, then I shouldn't be worried so much about all these decisions and just trust my gut and go with it.
Yeah, that's so awesome. And it's funny, as you were talking about that, I think about I am married to somebody that I met at this company. Eric's married to somebody that he met. They now have a baby together. So who knows if we would have ever even found, our couples, our significant others in life if we hadn't, made the decision to work for the company, and if Ryan hadn't been a manager and decided to come to New England. So it's so cool how everything does have a trickle effect and everything affects everything else. We're all one energy in the universe, even though the universe is huge. We do have an impact on it, and it's, through one person at a time, one small change at a time. So you can change the world. That's the close of the book. I'm kind of sad that it's over, but I definitely am going to reread it. The 5 Major Pieces to the Life Puzzle. There's a little munchkin. Hi, Logan. He's so cute. We're going to read. It's Logan's new favorite book. We're going to read The Leader Who Had No Title. He's going to be running the calls for the next month.
Yeah.
But The Leader Who Had No Title, that's our next book. It's by Robin Sharma, and Josh, I think, is going to plan to run those calls. So I don't know, Josh, if you want to share a little bit about why you chose the book that we're going to read next. I'm so excited. I've actually read it before, but years ago, so I'm excited to reread it.
Yeah. So I think one of the cool things about the book is that I always feel as though it seems like a lot in the world that whenever they're leaders, they always seem to, it seems like everybody has a title these days, just a certain position that they've earned or a certain thing that they've merited. But it's not always true that those people are in essence really true leaders and really able to help their organizations thrive. And so I got this book because I'm, as some of you guys know, still looking for my dream job. And in the meantime, I know Logan approves. So in the meantime, I've been trying to find resources to help me still make impacts on other people, even though I don't have that position yet, and still end up being, somebody who makes a positive difference in the world and impacts other people and helps other people get to what they want in life and all that sort of thing. And that's essentially living out my purpose in the same way. And so I remember some of the division managers at Cutco had talked about this for a long time, and many of them had really approved this book. And as you guys know, Eric and Mallory have already read it one time, and I just never got the chance to get it when I was in that same position. So I'm really excited to read this book and just to see, just some of the things that I probably know some of these things intrinsically a little bit, but just to see essentially again how I can essentially how anybody can essentially do that, whether they have their dream job or not, whether they feel as though they're in a good life situation at this point or not. And so that's essentially why I wanted to read this book. So
Yeah, that's great. I'm so excited to read it.
Oh, no. All right, we gotta go in a minute, so I'll share what I was gonna say about the book, and
Yeah.
then we gotta run. But what do you want to read it? All right. So basically, the cool thing about this book is that it's actually a fable and it's a story. So a few of Robin Sharma's books are like that. They're like The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. There's a few other books, and I think it's so cool to read a book like this because there's so many personal development concepts, but people love stories. People love metaphors. So when you can actually learn the principles through a really good story, that it almost sticks with you more because you can actually see it applied right there rather than just learning a principle in a book. So both of the books that Robin Sharma wrote that are fables are some of my favorite. There's a few other authors that write fiction, personal development, fables, and they're some of my favorite books because they really drive home the concept. They're also good books to give to people that aren't really personal development people, so they still get to learn some of it, but through a story. So it might stick more than like handing a book to someone and them being like, "What, you think I need help with my life? What's wrong with me?" type of thing. So I think my dad actually has given. So at a certain age, we stopped giving, cousins or whatever presents. But my dad has given his, godsons and goddaughters the books, some of those books, like The Alchemist or The Leader Who Has No Title and all that stuff, because you're not like, it's something that they can learn and have fun with. So I'm really excited for the book, and Logan is too. He stopped. I don't know if I have to just keep talking and then he'll just be quiet or he's confused about what's going on or whatever. But we're excited for the next book, but I think we need to go for a walk or something. So I'll see you guys next time. But there was an awesome job this month, Mal, with the book. It was really awesome, and looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, have a good night, Eric. Bye, Logan.
Say bye.
bye, Logan.
He's so cute. So yeah, that is basically all we had to share tonight. Thank you guys. Thanks, Josh, for hopping on and off. I know it was a little bit of a challenge for you tonight, but no worries whatsoever. We still were able to get through, and I'm excited for next week's book. I'm excited for
Definitely.
The Leader Who Had No Title. So we'll just plan to read the first chapter. I don't know how many chapters are in the book, so we could probably get through a couple chapters in a week. But
There's eight. There's 8 chapters.
oh
I would say 2. If you can hear me.
yeah. Two chapters by next week, so we'll just put a posting on Facebook and we'll be good. So thanks for joining us, everybody. I had a great time going through this book with you guys. You got to check it out if you haven't read it already, The Five Major Pieces of the Life Puzzle. And definitely jump in with us next week for Leader Who Had No Title by Robin Sharma. I'm excited. Have a good night.